You see, truth tellers have something to teach us, that truth and justice must go hand in hand, because once the truth is revealed, something must be done. Something has to change, because to live in a lie is to live in a perpetual state of dis-ease. And the world needs truth tellers, yes, but not just any kind of truth teller. For our world is full of Jeremiahs who shout repentance in the desert and then turn their angry gaze on you. In fact, the airwaves are full of so-called truth tellers, of the Glenn Becks and the Michael Savage and Hannity, the Rush Limbaughs, the Ann Coulters, the Ted Haggarts and the Jimmy Swaggarts. We don't need more noise, more rhetoric, more boasting, more lambasting, liberals attacking conservatives, conservatives attacking liberals, Christians against Muslims, Muslims against Jews, Sunnis against Shiites, with all the conflicting beliefs about truth, shouting, ranting, belittling. Perhaps there is another way of being a truth teller. Perhaps what we need is what Jesus modeled in that encounter with Pilate, an elegant, poetic, and pregnant silence. To everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven, a time to speak and a time to keep silent. Now that may seem like really strange advice in a sermon where I just named a whole list of women and men who did not keep silence in the face of difficulties. And because of that, they changed the piece of history, unusual words to hear in a prophetic faith like ours. But when I think about that story long ago, this philosophical encounter between this Roman and Jew, between two men who could have argued themselves into a courtroom drama, why did Jesus take the approach of silence? I said earlier that this story has haunted me for decades, and quite frankly, this sermon is my way of trying to figure out that moment of silence. Because sometimes being a truth teller is knowing when to shut up. Not out of fear of persecution or ridicule, but when you can clearly see that no amount of telling the truth will make any difference whatsoever. I'm not talking about trivial truth-telling or contextual or inconvenient. I'm talking about a truth-telling trap. And I have to give you a real-life example to describe what I mean. I once served a church where I was in conflict with a member of the congregation, and I thought if we could just sit down and talk it out, tell each other the inconvenient truths about ourselves, that we could get past all these misunderstandings and just move on. And we did meet, and the meeting turned into a lot of posturing and defensiveness, and it became very obvious there would be no kumbaya moment, maybe not ever. So I think we both wanted the truth to set us free, and it wound up making us mad. So there's another final definition of truth that I think might be helpful. It's considered archaic, but it's a quality of being that pertains to sincerity in action, character, and utterance. Truth is a quality of being. And that requires something of us. It requires the discipline of not only right speech, but of right mind and right action. And in some cases, bearing witness to the truth might mean holding a respectful silence. Discernment about when to confront and when to hold a silence is a discipline worthy of our practice. Why, at the crossroads of his life, didn't he speak up? He was a skillful debater. He could have probably held forth in court for a long time. Maybe he was tired. Maybe he knew that his protest was futile and that no amount of debate would change the course of history. Or maybe he realized that telling the truth in that circumstance was more about the quality of his being and everything that led up to that moment of sincerity in action, in character and utterance. I actually think that that silence holds volumes, and it's a profound lesson for us as well. That the way we live our lives, the choices we make, those are the greatest testament to the truth that we ever can hope for. And that, my friends, is the truth. May it be so.